welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about analyzing graphs. So we're going to be taking a look at line plots, circle graphs, and histograms and analyzing them. Let's start by taking a look at a line plot. So here we are taking a look at our line plot in example A. We've got 3 questions there that we need to answer about the number of books checked out of the library. So the first question says, how many people are represented in this line plot? So if we've never seen a line plot before, it's very simple to figure out how many people are represented. All we're going to do is count the number of x's. So if we count the number of x's under each category, we can see that there are 17 x's here. So there are 17 people that are represented in this line plot. The next question says, what is the median number of books checked out at the library? In order to figure out the median number of books, all we're going to do is find the number in the middle. Remember, median means middle. So in order to do that, we need to line our numbers up from order from least to greatest. And we don't actually have to do that ourselves. They're already in our line plot for us in order from least to greatest. So all we're going to do is cross off one from each side until we get to the numbers in the middle to determine what our median is. So if we cross off a 0, we cross off a 5, a 0, a 4, then we cross off 2 1s, another couple 4s, cross off another 2 1s, cross off a couple 3s, and then we're going to just be hacking off each sides of the 2s until we have one number in the middle, which is our 2. So 2 is going to be our median for this line plot. The next question asks, what percentage of people checked out 3 books or more? So unlike previous questions in this problem, we need to do some math in order to figure this out. So when we're talking about percentages, there's a couple of ways that we can do that. We can use a decimal, we can use a fraction, or we can use a proportion if we know what we're doing. So I'm going to use a proportion, but there's many methods in order to figure this problem out. So to start out, we need to first figure out how many people have 3 books or more. So remember, 3 books or more is going to include the number of people that are 3. So we've got 2 people here in the 3. We've got 3 people who checked out 4 and 1 person who picked out 5. So now we know that there are 6 people out of the 17 people that checked out 3 books or more. Now that we know that, I'm going to use this information to form a proportion. Remember, percentage is out of 100, so I'm looking for 100%, and I don't know what percent I'm going to get, so that's going to be x. Now I'm going to solve this proportion by cross multiplying. 17 times x is going to be 17x. 6 times 100 is going to be 600. Now I've got a one-step equation, which I know how to solve by drawing my wall. The inverse of multiplication is division, so I'm going to divide both sides by 17. These are going to cancel, and x is going to leave me with the decimal that's going to not terminate, but I'm going to round it to the nearest hundredth, so I'm going to get 35.29%. So the number of percentage of people who checked out 3 books or more is 35.29%. Now let's take a look at another type of graph. So here we are at example B, and it's talking about a circle graph. So we've got a couple questions there to answer about the circle graph that talks about preferred after-school activities. So the first question asks, there are 500 people represented in the graph. How many prefer hanging out with friends? So we can see here in our graph the number of people that prefer hanging out with friends is 30%. But that doesn't tell me how many people out of 500. So I can do this a couple ways. I can make a decimal. I could be multiplying by a fraction. I could use my Desmos calculator, but I'm going to make a proportion. Again, proportion is not the only way you can do this, but it is a way you could do it. So I know that there are 500 people total, and I know that that is going to be equal to 100% of the people in this problem. I know that 30% of them prefer hanging out with friends because that's how many people were in my graph. So now I just need x to figure out how many people that was. So now I need to solve my proportion, and I'm going to start by doing that by doing some cross multiplication. So x times 100 is going to be 100x. 30 times 500 is going to be 15,000, so 15 with 3 zeros afterneath. Then I need to solve my equation by dividing both sides by 100. 100 divided by 100 is going to be x, and 1500 divided by 100 is going to be 150. So I know that there are 150 people that are going to prefer hanging out with friends according to this circle graph. Now, a different question entirely, so separate from the first question, asks if 210 people prefer soccer, how many people prefer video games. So I can't use the number that they've given me in the first question because these two questions are separate, and I don't know if the 500 people is the same number that they're referring to here. So I've got to figure out how many people prefer video games, only knowing that 210 people prefer soccer. So before I can figure out the number of people that like video games, I'm going to need to figure out how many people there are total in this graph. So in order to do that, I need to, again, set up a proportion. Again, lots of ways to do this, but I'm going to set up a proportion. I know that there are 210 people that like soccer, but I don't know how many people there are total. Now, I do know that the number of people that like soccer is 24%, and I know that that would be out of 100%, or the total number of people. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply to solve my equation. So x times 24 is going to be 24x. 210 times 100 is going to be 21,000, with 21 with 3 zeros there. Then I need to solve my equation. So I'm going to draw my wall, divide both sides by 24, and when I do that, I get that x equals 875. But that's not my answer. That's just how many people are in this survey for this question. So now I need to take that information and apply it to how many people prefer video games. So this is a two-step problem in order to figure out how many people prefer video games. So now that I know that there are 875 people total, I can set up a proportion to be out of 100%. So do I know how many people like video games? I do not, but I know that the number of people who like video games is 12%. So now that I have this information, I'm going to start by my cross multiplying again and solve my equation. So I'm going to get 100x is equal to 12 times 875, and I can do that in my Desmos calculator, or I can do it in my head, and I should get 10,500. Don't recommend doing it in your head if you don't need to. Then I'm going to draw my wall and solve my equation by dividing both sides by 100. 100 divided by 100 is going to be x, and 10,500 divided by 100 is going to be 105. So the number of people that like video games in this problem are 105. Now let's take a look at the last graph. Welcome to example C, where we're talking about a bar graph. So in the bar graph, we've got 3 questions here to answer based on the bar graph that we can see, talking about backstage passes handed out by Jake and Josh. So the first question asks us, what is the median amount of passes handed out? And as we learned about median, we knew looking for the number that's in the middle. In order to find the number that's in the middle, we first have to make sure that we have the numbers ordered from least to greatest. So here we've got some 1s, some 3s, some 4s, some 5s. And unfortunately, in a bar graph, they're not laid out evenly for us. Like the first time there's a 1, but then it's a 3, but then it drops down to a 1 again. So in order to do that, we need to go through and sort the numbers to put them in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to sort them real quick, and hopefully you join me in that process. But 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and then a 2, and then 3, 3, 3, and then 4 and 5. So now that we've got them in order from least to greatest, we're going to cross off until we find the numbers in the middle. So we're going to cross off a 1, a 5, a 5, a 1, a 1, a 4, a 2, a 3. We have 2 numbers in the middle because this is an even set of data. Now, if we have 2 numbers in the middle to find the median, we would add them up and divide by 2. So in this case, 3 plus 3 is 6, and 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3. Since these numbers are the same, the median is going to work out to be 3 in this particular case. But if we had 3 and 4 and added them together, then our median would be 3.5, which would be challenging to hand out half a backstage pass, so it wouldn't make much sense in this particular scenario. So our median here is going to be 3. Now it asks what percentage change for Jake from day 4 to day 5. So we're going to need our old formula that we've learned way back of new minus old divided by old. So our new amount for day 4 to day 5 is going to be the amount of day 5, because day 5 comes after day 4. So the new amount for Jake, which is the yellow amount here, is going to be 1. The old amount, so the amount he made on day 4, is going to be 5. So 1 minus 5 divided by the old amount is going to be 5. 1 minus 5 is going to be negative 4. Carry over my 5. Negative 4 divided by negative 5 is going to be negative 0.80. But I'm not asking for decimal of change. I'm looking for the percent of change. So I'm going to turn my decimal to a percent by moving my decimal 2 places to the right. And when I do that, I should find my percent of change is going to be negative 80%. The last question asks, if Josh charges $55 per pass, he would make more money than Jake true or false. So in order to figure that out, we need to add up the number of passes that Josh handed out, the number of passes that Jake handed out, sold in this particular case. So we're going to add up all of the ones that Jake sold. So 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 5 plus 1. And in that case, he's going to end up with 11 passes. And Josh, we're going to add up his 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. And he's going to have 17 passes. Now, we could do the multiplication, 55 times 11 and 55 times 17, but we should probably know that since 17 is more than 11, we're going to turn out that he is going to make more money because he handed out more passes and got more money for each of them. So that information is going to be true. Remember, the question doesn't ask us how much money he made. It doesn't ask us how much money Jake made. It asks us whether he would have made more, true or false. So we need to make sure that we answer the question true or false. That brings us to the end of this video. It brings us to the end of this set of notes. If you like this video, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up. If you love this video, go ahead and throw us a sub. And we will catch you in the next one.